All right, now we're turning our attention to Nigeria's rapidly evolving digital asset landscape. In recent weeks, the House of Representatives have held consultations with, regulators and key industry players as part of efforts to, develop a clear regulatory framework and ultimately a legislative bill for cryptocurrency and digital assets to the country. It's a pivotal moment, for the ecosystem with implications for innovation, consumer protection, market stability, and Nigeria's position in the global digital economy. I'm joined today by leading voices in the crypto space to unpack what these engagements mean. Let's talk to Olusegun Kosemani, is the Chief Executive Bitcoin Manager at Botmecash. We have Oye Shobowale-Benson, Sovereign Blockchain Architect, and they're joining me right here in the studio, spending their Friday, their TGIF, with us. Great to have you both.
Nice to be here.
Fantastic. So, we're seeing all of these consultations. I did see, pictures, recently of, industry leaders, talking with, the legislator, trying to get direction, for this this industry that everyone is trying to understand. We've been trying to understand it for so many years. Now, we don't know who created Bitcoin. We're not even there yet, at this point. But, talk to me about the overall mission, of these consultations, you've had so far. I know you guys were right there.
All right. So the biggest problem with this space in Nigeria is fragmentation. Okay, you have the executive working on what they're working on. You have innovators, builders working on what they're working on as well. Then you also have foreign interests. There's interest in Nigeria because you were ahead in adoption. And this was caused because people were hedging in FX when the Naira was unstable. But now we thank the CBN and things are looking bright. So there's no need for that any longer. What we need to do is unify, because we already have this high adoption. So when we unify and we get a bill or regulation in order, hopefully through the committee, once we get this in order, then everybody knows their roles. SEC should be focused on these investments. CBN should manage monetary control, while tax should be handled by FIRS.
All right, so, definitely, it seems like, when I started first hearing about regulating, cryptocurrency, digital assets, to me, I was like, let me see how this is going to go. Because it seems like it's a segment that is hard to actually get the right rules, for. In your opinion, how did these consultations go? Do you think we got more confused?
Thank you very much, Ladi. And that's a very tricky question.
Right.
Only the truth can help us. Where we are right now, like Oye rightly said, it's a very pivotal moment, like you also said in the beginning. We're at a crossroad and we must come together, work together. The National Assembly Committee on Cryptocurrency Adoption for Economic Stability, yada, yada, is doing something very unique at this time, because this is the first time in the history of Nigeria where you have securities and stakeholders come together just for one purpose. So I think during the hearings, we were able to achieve one thing. We need a harmonized, synchronized, properly documented cryptocurrency blockchain laws, bills. Not the ones we kind of have now.
What do we have now?
Okay, so we have some guidelines and framework. It's awesome what the SEC has with ISA 25, right? But there are subtle imperfections that can affect the space because we don't have a proper market structure bill and some, clarity. And we have the NTAA by the NRS, the former FIRS, Section 79, 5th Schedule, which also talks about virtual assets, right? It's beautiful. But the blockchain space is bigger than virtual assets. So I think what we got from the hearing is this is an opportunity for Nigeria, protect Nigeria's monetary space, encourage job creation, develop capacity, at the same time generate revenue. But we have to be very careful doing it. It shouldn't be fragmented. Like Oye said, it must be done together. We must come together, and there must be separations of deliverables and oversight functions. The market must be about Nigeria first, and the only way that can be done is at the National Assembly. The right laws must be put in place, and everybody must come together. I think that's what we got from there.
But what if, even in that fragmentation, is it possible that they kind of align, the different, regulators and stakeholders somehow? It just aligns, even though it's fragmented. Is it possible?
There's no, I don't think, they can, that's a paradox, fragmentation and align. You cannot align when you are fragmented. It's not possible. What you are doing, you are creating gray areas, which foreign companies like Tether can explore, because they have a training going on now. So what are they training people on? Are they training people to further dollarize our economy, or they are training them to adopt Bitcoin and a stable coin, Nigerian-backed stable coin? So fragmentation creates gray areas, and there has to be clarity for us to go forward. CBN is doing a good job, FIRS is doing a good job, but we need to be aligned.
Right. And talking about, alignment, you've also, there's also been that talk about how, digital assets kind of impact the sovereignty, of a nation. What you did talk about dollarization, and all of that. So, break it down for me, that nexus between, sovereignty, digital assets, and, getting this framework right.
All right, so that's a tough one. not a tough one, but I don't know if I have enough time. But my background was in TradFi for like 14 years. I went, and the difference in DeFi
and when
is...
it says TradFi, it means traditional finance, for some of us that don't know.
All right, so that's my background. So obviously I know how financial systems work. But what we have here with the DLT, that's distributed ledger technology, is innovative. We can clear so many gray areas, I've seen how processes could fail, oversight could fail, but we could capture all this under the DLT. So what we need to, you asked another question, I forget the second part of your question.
So, in that whole alignment, how does it impact that's sovereignty, at this point? How does it, we talked about dollarization, so it's like it's more negative, for sovereignty, when you allow, most of these...
Yeah, so these guys come in, and the rails are not owned by Nigerians, so they are foreign rails. So the CBN doesn't really have oversight, or the FIRS, they can't really see what's going on. So this is even, they can fund instability. It can be paid through that. So sovereignty has so many angles. So we need to have Nigerian rails, Nigerian stablecoin, and
when you say Tether, that's the platform
USDT.
USDT, yes. That's a stable coin,
yes.
The most popular one
in the whole world.
In the world right now.
So when you have a regulated framework, you can have Bitcoin and a Nigerian-backed stable coin. Those are the only two coins or digital assets that should have monetary rules. Everything else should be scrutinized first before they come in, because we have a big market. So before you let people into your market, you have to, regulate and make sure there are rules, designate rules, so to say. So
right. All right. So Shego, at this point, you did talk about when we had the issue, instability, with the naira. Definitely we're tending towards 2K to the dollar at some point. Then remember that Binance, got into issues, with their P2P, platform. But I don't think we're having any of that issue right now, since the naira has been stable.
No. So we have a president who doesn't want or like issues. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since he has come in, if you observe, especially for the monetary space, it's been more of how can I help this emerging sector. Firstly, Governor Cardoso eased the sanctions that was on banking, with the virtual assets.
When you say ease the sanctions, when you go on the P2P platforms, you still see most of those buyers and sellers there saying, please don't write anything about crypto.
Because the P2P
CBN
market
will block your
is not
account.
largely regulated.
Okay.
But the CBN governor, ease all that post-no debit issues of cryptocurrency accounts and regular financial rails. You can now do that, but you would need guidelines and framework, proper compliance from the SEC, and of course report, to the NFIU, and maybe clearance from the ONSA. Right now, they are getting to understand it even more. I have been a part of multiple, sessions with the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, where, it's about compliance and reporting transactions. That's pretty much what the FG wants. But until the NFIU, SEC, Central Bank, FIRS involve actively the stakeholders, the entire, holistically, what we would be able to achieve would fetch Nigeria more than $1 trillion in economic returns.
Because I was going to ask, what's in it for Nigeria, with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adoption? And you give me a figure there.
Yes, it could be $5 trillion, as a matter of fact. Look, the US is trying to set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. There is even a Bitcoin bill, going to the Congress, sponsored by a rep member. And they are obviously, shipping their own inflation with this new day cryptographic money, stablecoin, to places where they need them. And you know what the inflationary effect of our economy has done to the pockets of the ordinary people, right? Even wealthy people feel it. And people want to opt out. They are looking for either a stable currency or a currency that can, protect them, or something that can protect them.
Right.
Bitcoin so far has been the best performing asset on earth. And that's why the US is going that route. Which way, Nigeria? This is the route we should be going now to help President Bola Ahmed Tinubu achieve that goal, stabilize our country's currency, stabilize our economy, boost our GDP, at the same time, protect our sovereignty. That's what Oye is trying to say. Right. Even via education, there must be sovereignty in education, so that you don't get colonized by nuances that may not eventually work in your favor, right? We don't also want, there's capital flight through stablecoins already, but we also don't want intellectual flight. We don't want
no more flights.
We want
no
everything
more
to be here.
and out.
Yes, we want money to come in.
Let the flights come in.
Yeah, let the flights come in.
Fantastic. All right, so definitely we've run out of time, at this point, but we've unpacked a lot, and I guess the conversation, will keep going, at this point. But it was great having you both. Thank you so much. Olusegun Kosemani is the Chief Executive Bitcoin Manager, Botmecash. Oye Shobowale-Benson, Sovereign Blockchain Architect. Thank you both for coming on Unpack this for us. Thank you.
Thank you,
Laddie.